massive jubilation in the southeastern part of Nigeria because the United Nations have formally granted diplomatic privileges to Biafra passports and map, and this has caused a wide celebration in the southeastern part of Nigeria. They said finally it's coming to reality.
How would you frequently understand this when it was reported in some of these platforms, and even before now, a lot of media reported it, but Nigerian media are not actually reporting it, but it has come to reality. And I told you that some time ago there was a submission, a conference of submission of Biafran constitution that has gone through the ranks and file of verification in United Nations and has been acknowledged to be a secular nation with Christian values. That is one. Two, I'm talking about Biafra now. Then, all of a sudden, again, we are hearing, and remember too, there was a delegate that also went to Hague in Netherlands to submit, territorial agreement on conflict resolutions, on relationship with other countries, boundaries and all that. That one has been done. And just to take care, remind you of what is actually going on, that the speed at which we are going, we are making sure that everything are within the diplomatic structures of a nation with international relations. Very important, with diplomatic treaties with other powerful nations within Africa and outside Africa. Today, they have granted access to diplomatic privileges. What it means that United Nations has granted diplomatic access and privileges on Biafran passports. What that it means is that it has undergone a certain official scrutiny within the United Nations, both in style, both in color, whatever it represents has been granted, has been approved by United Nations. That if they recognize Biafra today, the United Nations, you know what I mean by United Nations? Countries that made up United Nations at every entry point around the world, every airport around the world, once you tender it, bam, Oga, you are seen as a Biafran citizen with due respect at that, because it is seen that it is the another Israel in Africa. That is what the world is looking at. They are looking at another Israel in Africa. So, when you talk about the Jews of this world, when you talk about the Israel as a nation, anywhere they go, they have this level of respect, attached to their citizens, to their citizenry, and what they represent and what they have contributed in the global world, in terms of science, in terms of innovations, in terms of technology, in terms of humanity, in terms of agriculture, just everything that has to do with civilization. So that has been actually taken care of. Another aspect is what is actually going on, and that is why you are seeing it didn't just happen. A lot of you does not understand why there is campaign advocacy for Igbo unification in Nigeria, especially in the old Eastern Bloc. And there was a report that they wanted to make use of the first recognized territory by the Portuguese government. They called that Old Eastern Province. That Old Eastern Province has a complete structure of what Biafra is all about today. I'm not talking about the one that came with struggle, the one that came with identity. Well, I'm talking that the United Nations is actually looking at that because of the peculiar nature in Nigeria now. That will have most Christians being accommodated within the Biafran territory. The United Nations have already granted that map with about more than, I don't want to start mentioning the provinces attached to it, but the expansion is awesome. So based on that, don't be surprised you are going to see different territories that the referendum can be extended to them. So there will be modifications in that regard, and United Nations has accepted the presentation, the official presentation. I'm not talking about the, if you look at the one, it came very close with what exactly what Randy Moore was trying to talk about a few minutes ago, in case there was going to be anything, like that. And secondly, now, the Biafran government also has officially submitted the result of the referendum to the United Nations, which has now, from what we are hearing, has been officially endorsed in that regard. So it is something that every bit. So it is not just coming out to say they have recognized the nation. There are documentation. There are documents. There are certain things that is attached for a nation to have a proper and a smooth takeoff without any conflict. And that is what the professionals, Biafrans, all over the world, IPOB members all over the world are already engaged on, making sure that every nook and cranny of what it takes to stand as a nation is properly now taken care of. And having fulfilled some certain conditions, the United Nations now deemed it fit that a prototype of the Biafran passport should be submitted. And when it was submitted, it was granted diplomatic access. Do you know what that means? With I don't know the kind of adjective to qualify it. But what they are saying in that regard is that now we have taken a proper rundown, and this passport has been granted a diplomatic access anywhere in the world once there is recognition. And that recognition is what every Biafran government, every Biafran all over the world also should be celebrating by now, should be praying for by now. That we don't need much nations, we don't need anything. You understand? What we actually need is one or two powerful nations to just proclaim it, and that is it for peace to end. Because national unity has not brought anything meaningful. The coexistence, cohabiting with these people has not given us sovereignty, has not given us peace, has not driven people who want to contribute their own quota to civilization, to destinies, uncovering destinies of nations. Every nation has its own destiny. You can see America is fulfilling their own destiny because it is their destiny. That is what they are doing. Look at Israel today. Look at other nations of the world, China and the rest of them of the world today. Tell me one country in Black Africa that you can be proud of. I'm not talking about Northern Africa. I said Black Africa, black nations in Africa. Tell me one country that you can be proud of. And that is what Biafra represents. And that is why this glamour, the world has seen it, that in Biafra, Africa rises. And that is why the AU, of course, you can see all these ECOWAS and the rest of them, they seem to have seen the reality on ground. They will not have anything to say when the time comes, but to queue and begin to thank God that once upon a time, these nations was allowed to emerge as in Africa. And Africa will celebrate Biafra, celebrate Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, celebrate Simon Ekpa.
Okay. But Ngozi just said in the next 48 hours, the Nigerian military must leave the southeast. She said, and the southeast governors leaders will not be forgiven for what they've done to the people of Biafra. Do you agree with? Do you think that the Nigerian military should leave in the next 48 hours?
That's why we are saying, because I think she's trying to tell the whole world, that Biafra government is running and that Biafra is a sovereign nation. The presence of Nigerian military in Biafran land is no longer acceptable, and every Biafran politician in Nigeria should also take note of that. That nobody should be taken by surprise. That is what he's saying. While other things are actually being played out, it is good to start sounding that notice earlier, so that every adjustment that needed to be done needed to be done. But for now, that is what it is. I think to an extent, he's telling the whole world that Biafra is now a running government on their own. There's a Biafran government in exile, and are waiting for recognition. That is what it is. Any version, thank God that the Igbo youth, the Biafran youth have rejected joining the Nigerian Biafran, army, the Nigerian army. And that is why you see, like, as if the Nigerian army are gradually collapsing, in that regard. Even though that we are hearing that the American government is here to help them, but that is what it is for now. They are not joining, and the Igbos are not joining, the Igbo youths are not joining the Nigerian military. And you can see the collapse of Nigerian military is imminent, and that is what it is. Don't join them. Reserve your strength for the government of Biafra, and that's what he's trying to say. For those of them who are Biafran politicians in Nigeria, your time is up. The signals are getting very, clear, are getting very significant for you to know. The likes of Odus Okalo, David Umahi, Benjamin Kalu, and those of them that sold Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for their presidential ambition, led Mazi Simon Ekpa to eat and dine with the Fulani Caliphate. Time and posterity is going to judge you all. God bless.
Okay, thank you.